weekly foray into yesteryear to see and check out um, what the youth of yesteryear, 50s, 60s, 70s, were listening to, what was hot in the streets, what was in mommy's pocketbook. Because if you ever, um, give me 1 second. If you ever get a chance to look inside a woman's pocketbook, you will find out a lot of personal information about that woman. That's if you get the chance. And so that's why I call this Mommy's Pocketbook, because I'm discovering a whole bunch of music that my mother had, because these were her 45s. And it gives me a little bit of insight into what she was into back in the day when she was a youth and a young adult. Also, happy Juneteenth. If you don't know what that is, it's a holiday celebrated on the 19th of June, which is today, which is to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people of the United States. However, it was first celebrated in Texas because on that date in 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, the slaves were declared free under the terms of the 1862 Emancipation Proclamation. So they told them later on. So, and if you didn't know, if you've been under a rock, it's been declared a federal holiday. So we will officially be celebrating our freedom on the 19th through the 4th. And then, you can have your hot dogs and hamburgers and your red, white, and blue, and we'll do that if that's what you're into. Anyway, we're going to get ready to set this off, get this thing started, because we are jumping on a little late with the first of our 10. And it is coming, the first couple of records I noticed while I was doing my research, which is why I'm late, because I just finished, literally like 20 minutes ago. My bad, I be tripping sometimes, but I'm getting it back together. It's episode 15! 15 weeks we've been doing this, and there's still a whole bunch more in this bag. Let me tell you, Mommy's pocketbook is large. Anyway, the first of our choices is going to be coming from the Intrigues. It's a vocal group out of Philly. It was Alfred Brown, James Lee, James Harris, and Ronald Hamilton. They started in the late 1960s, and they were active till about 1972 or through 1972. During that time, they recorded for Toot record label, Bullet record label, Janus, and this song that we're getting ready to listen to was recorded on U Records. They also did an LP on U. That was the only record label that they released an LP on. It was named after their hit In a Moment, which in 1969 was number 31 in the pop charts, number 10 on R&B charts, arranged and produced by Bobby Martin and Tom Bell. Martin and Bell did a lot of arranging, producing sessions for people together as a duo. They're known for their Philly funky soul. Let's check and see what they got going on. They also work with our boy from DC, Van McCoy. So, known for their Philly funky soul. We're going to check it out and see what they got going on with The Language of Love, which hit number 100 on the top 100 Billboard charts in 1971, and number 21 in the R&B charts. It's the Intrigues with Language of Love. Written, produced, and arranged. Well, written and arranged by Van McCoy and produced also. Forgive the static. This is old music. This is old original music, okay? This is the original print of this. So it's a
It's true love at first sight, and everything is right. to hold her tight, but she comes out of sight. Tell her, it may sound foreign to her ears, but in her heart she understands the language of
Like I was saying, co-written by Van McCoy and Joe Cobb, singer-songwriter, who co-wrote a lot of music with Van McCoy. Van McCoy also arranged the song. If you don't know who Van McCoy is, he is from DC. He is also the co-founder of Vando label. He was in a doo-wop group back in the day called the Starlighters with his brother Norman McCoy. They released a song called Birdland. And then, of course, he released a bunch of solo music. And, of course, he's touted as a disco producer, which is not exactly his intent. But, you know, you can't get away from it when you start producing such hits as the Grammy-winning The Hustle. In 1975, won a Grammy with that one, with the Soul City Symphony. So that was The Language of Love. We're going to listen to the B-side. It's called I Got Love, written by an artist-producer by the name of Ferris Hill, with production from Martin and Bell, Bobby Martin, Tom Bell, you know them, of the Philadelphia Sound. Tom Bell, Philly Sound, Songwriters Hall of Fame 2006. Bobby Martin is kind of known as the granddaddy of R&B. He was working in the industry with like many labels, and he's like at the beginning of the sound of Philadelphia, and also the beginning of the transition from soul to R&B. And he made a big name for himself with Philadelphia International Records, Columbia Records, Warner Brothers Records, and A&M, and he was integral into the process of getting that TSOP, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother thing going on, known as the theme to Soul Train, which you're going to hear more from that. And I promise you, I didn't put these records together, but we have a whole bunch of related music to these artists and to the sound of Philadelphia. But this is I Got Love. Let's listen to it. The Intrigues.
I wanna squeeze you, oh mama, and I wanna leave you. But baby, whatever you want, and you know I got to get it for you. And baby, you know, I really love you. Oh baby, I love you so baby. I love you, oh baby, baby, you know I need you, always gonna need you. You know my love is growing, oh baby, growing, baby, need to tell you, baby, I love you. You know I love you, baby, won't you always thinking of you. Oh, baby, you know, baby, oh, you know, I love you. Oh, baby, always.
So there's not a whole bunch of information on the record label. It's UYEW is the spelling of it. It's a New York soul label that was around from the 1960s and 1970s. You can see, even though it was a New York label, they were clearly working down with that Philadelphia soul. Next in line, we got number 2 out of our 10 is coming from Justine, better known as Baby Washington. Born Justine Washington in Bamberg, South Carolina, but she was raised in Harlem, so uptown. You got my back, but I'm still there. But anyway, R&B singer, pianist, So she was not just a singer, but also a musician. She had a big hit with, which is called "That's What Heartaches Are Made." That's how heartaches are made. In 1963, it was number 40 on the pop charts. It was the only hit she had with Sue Records, which is the record label she's on. You might not be aware of it. This is what it looks like. That little curly sign over there says Sue. And Sue Records is a U.S. R&B and jazz label. It was owned by Juggy Murray Jones, who was a songwriter and producer, and also on the record labels Jupiter, Jupiter Jazz, Sue International, and Symbol, to name a few. So, we're going to get into Only Those in Love. And I'll give you a little bit more information about Miss Baby Washington.
Someone like the moon in the sky above, peaceful but faithful, only those in love.
grown-up voice, but she did have a baby face, so maybe that's why they called her Baby. But anyway, she was a member of a group called the Hearts in 1956 before getting her first R&B hit, which was a top 30, and it was called Time, and that was 1959 on Neptune Records. And she hit some of the charts. She hit some charts into the mid-70s with her songs, but they were still hot from the 60s. So they were released in the 60s, but they didn't hit the charts in popularity until the 70s, and that's pretty dope because you can't even do that these days. She also had a top 20 hit called The Bells, and top 20 R&B hit, that is, and another top 20 R&B hit called Nobody Cares in 1961. We're going to listen to the B-side. It's called The Ballad of Bobby Dawn. And this is, again, Baby Washington.
Gonna bake the cake, throw it in the oven. Gonna bake the cake just as fast as I can. And if that cake will be a blue steel bow, it's for my loving man. He ain't gonna bed. He's still gonna hang the governor fly, hang till he's good and dead. So Bobby Dawn, coming for to get you. Bobby Dawn, don't you worry, gonna set you free. Bobby Dawn, Bobby Dawn, he don't belong in no prison. Bobby Dawn belongs to me. They just don't understand. They got the wrong man. Bobby Dawn, Bobby Dawn, gotta have you here. Fields need a plowing. Have you here? There's tobacco to grow. We're gonna have a child and he's got to have a father. Don't have you gonna know that child never comes to brother unless he's got a father. Don't have you gonna know. Bobby Dawn, coming for again. Bobby Dawn, don't you worry, gonna set you free. Bobby Dawn, Bobby Dawn, he don't belong in no prison. Bobby Dawn belongs to me.
So Bobby Dawn, the Ballad of Bobby Dawn is clearly about the ride or die chick. She said, I'm coming to set you free because Bobby Dawn don't belong in no prison. He belongs with me. And at one point in time, she said, we're about to have a baby and the baby needs a father. Let me hit the governor up and let him know. Let my Bobby Dawn go. Anyway, that's Baby Washington. That was written by Bob Howley, songwriter and composer. He worked with Nat King Cole, Della Reese, Patty Austin, Leslie Uggams, Kizzy, Dusty Springfield, and of course, many, many, many more. That was awesome. I like it. Ballad of Bobby Dawn, coming to set you free. Number 3 on our list of 10 records that we're going to listen to today comes from Ruby Johnson, another soul singer from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. She was raised in the Jewish faith and sang with her 8 brothers and sisters in the Temple Beth El choir. After high school, she moved to Virginia Beach, where she was a waitress and started singing in singing R&B with local bands at clubs. And then she spent 2 years with Samuel Lathan and the Rhythm Makers. Then she moved to DC in the late 50s and joined Ambrose and the Showstoppers, which was the house band at the then Spa nightclub. No, that sounds ritzy. I gotta ask my folks who are still out here in these streets who were there what that was about. Sounds like a ritzy type club. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Trying to make sure. So this is on Vote Records. You remember we've talked about Vote frequently if you've ever watched any of the episodes. But if you haven't, Vote is a subsidiary of Stax, which is one of the heavily influential record labels of the time of 60s, 70s, 50s, and all that stuff, as far as the Memphis sound coming in and competing with that Motown sound. It's only second to Motown in maybe revenue, but influence, it's there, because you had people like Isaac Hayes, hello, and Isaac Hayes was not just an artist, he was also a producer for Stax and Volt. So, it was originally called Satellite Records when it was founded in 1959 by Jim Stewart and Estelle Axton, brother and sister. A couple years later, roughly 2, they changed the name to Stax, which is the beginning of beginning 2 letters of both of their names, Stewart and Axton, ST and AX. Isn't that cute? So that was in 1961 that they went from Satellite to 1961. So they stayed around bringing that funk and soul R&B until they went bankrupt in 1975. But anyway, we're going to get into I'll Run Your Hurt Away. And then I'll give you a little bit more information about Miss Ruby Johnson.
Somebody took away away that warm glow that used to be in your eyes. But if you let me, little a little every day, oh, I will. I will. I'll run your hurt away. I'm supposed to keep your faithful open the door. Please let me come on in to give you something to live for. It won't take much, just a little, every day. Oh, I will. I know. I'll run away. Oh, let me stop it right now.
So I told you she moved to DC in the late 1950s, joined the Ambrose and the Showstoppers, house band at the Spa nightclub. Local entrepreneur called Never Duncan Jr. became her manager, ended up hooking her up with producer Dickie Williams. With Dickie Williams, she released her first single, Calling All Boys, in 1960 on Tone record label. Then, Never established his own record label called Nebs, and she recorded some singles like Here I Go Again, Worried Mind, and Nobody Cares. And those were kind of like local hits for the area. So I know the old folks at the hand dancing clubs know about that. Then she ended up signing with Volt in the mid-1960s, supported by production from Isaac Hayes and David Porter. Isaac Hayes and David Porter often did a lot of production work together for artists on Stax and Volt. And of course, they were backed by the Marquis, Horns, and the Booker T and the MGs, who were the house band musicians for Stax and Volt. And this song was written by Porter Hayes' team. So Isaac Hayes and David Porter on this.
I just got to run your hurt away.
So you hear that funkiness coming in there off of the band, and you hear her gritty, soulful sound that she had in her voice, which is understandable why they chose to sign her to Volt, because she had that kind of gritty sound that the Memphis sound kind of had back in those days with someone always calls while I'm doing this. Not always, but sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't throw off the recording. Anyway, we're going to continue and go on the other side to the weak spot, which is also a Hayes Porter production. Isaac Hayes and David Porter, that is. And we just talked about them, so you know who they are. Resident writer production team for Stax and Volt. You know Isaac Hayes, of course, from Shaft. Theme soundtrack to Shaft. You know him from all his other solo work. And, of course, you know, being the voice of Chef on South Park. And just being a dope, cool dude that did music. And so, along with Steve Cropper, who was a guitarist, Cropper, who was a guitarist and songwriter, arranger, production, he was a founding member of the Marquis, who, of course, did the backing music. In horn section, they were originally called the Royal Spades, and he was also a founding member of the other house part of the house band, which is Booker T and the MGs, and Steve Cropper was an original member of the Blues Brothers band. So, we're gonna listen to "Weak Spot," which is written by those three people, Porter, Hayes, and Cropper, but sung by Ruby Johnson.
Standing in the crowd, whenever I see see what you want. Your heart says to grab it, but your pride says no. Can't help it, he's a weak spot. I'm so glad he's a weak spot. I said the man is a weak spot. I cannot help it. I cannot help it. The man cannot help it. The man is a weak spot. I see him and things jump up in my mind. My love stays warm for him all of the time. I cannot help it, he's my weak spot. Oh, Jonah, he's my weak spot. So take your hands off my weak spot. Oh, don't mess with my weak spot. 'Cause I know.
She said, take your hands off my weak spot. Don't mess with my weak spot. I don't know, but I wouldn't. I feel like I believe her that she might put the hurt on you if you mess with her weak spot. That was Ruby Johnson. Now we're on to our fourth of our 10. It's from Brenda and the Tabulations, and I'm pretty sure the last time I played something from Brenda and the Tabulations, they were not on this record label. This record label is called Dion. Nothing to do with Dionne Warwick. 2 N's also. Dion Records was a subsidiary label of the Jamie record label, which is named after Alan Sissel's eldest daughter. It was founded in Philadelphia in 1956. And it's known for many Dwayne Eddy hits in the late 50s and also the early 60s. Jamie was one of the earliest firms to record in stereo. So Dion being under that umbrella of Jamie Records is also part of that legacy. We're going to listen to Baby You're So Right For Me. Let me give you a little bit of information. A soul group formed in 1966 from Philly. Originally Brenda Payton, Jerry Jones, Eddie Jackson, and Maurice Coates. They became a trio in 1970 featuring Payton, Pat Mercer, and Deborah Martin. Their biggest hit, Dry Your Eyes, 1967, number 20 on the charts and number 8 in the R&B charts. They kept on recording with Dion until 1969 and then Top and Bottom, which is the record label they were on the last time I played a record from Brendan and Tabulations. And they were on Top and Bottom from 1970 to 1973. They also had a couple of stints doing music on Epic and Chocolate City Records. So, in 1971, they hit the chart with Right on the Tip of My Tongue. I was a little pitchy in the beginning. Anyway, 1971, that was a number 10 R&B hit. That same year, they had A Part of You hit number 14 in the R&B charts. We're about to listen to Baby You're So Right For Me, written by Gary Klein and Jimmy Roach. Gary Klein was a singer, songwriter, producer. He was working with Barbra Streisand, Dolly Parton, Glenn Campbell, Johnny Cash, Ronnie Spector. She kind of got a little Ronnie Spector feel to her voice, so I see that. And Jimmy Roach was also another co-writer, producer on this record. Baby, you're so right for me. Baby, you're so right for me. I knew it when you came along. Oh, you were just right. You want to be, you're just so right for me. A love like this could never go on. Baby, in case you got what it takes, and boy, we were born to fall in love. We've got a lot of Intabulations. With Baby You're So Right, by, for me, that was nice and that beat. I like it a lot. We're going to get ready to listen to the B-side. I told you about some of the hits they actually charted with. They did have some sporadic success in the disco scene. You see, it was getting pretty boogie-oogie right there in the late 70s with their LP, I Keep Coming Back for More. They had a single called Let's Go All the Way Down. Oh, all right. Which also gained some international interest and club interest. We're going to listen to the B-side of Baby You're So Right for Me. Call to the One I Love. It's Brenda and Tabulations again.
To the one I love, to the only one I love, forgiving me such a love I never known, making a place in this world for me. The one I love, to the only one I love. If we should leave, don't make me cry. Just say hello, darling. Our goodbye. They don't understand the way we feel. They say it's wrong. I'll always love
I'll tell you one thing. She had the range, okay? Did you hear that high note? Did you see how she started out really low? Oh. Yeah, not a professional. That baby right there, Brenda, is a professional right there. I miss high notes. Nobody hits high notes anymore. Few and far between. I mean, they do, but few and far between. Anyway, Brenda and Tabulations. On to number 5 of our 10 choices. Random, I'm telling you. I know it doesn't seem random sometimes because some of these artists are so loosely related to other artists, or sometimes there's more than one LP or more than one record from that artist in here. But I promise you, I pull out of the bag randomly. Just happens like that. Just let you know what was in Mommy's pocketbook was a couple of artists that were like mainstays. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get that record, I'm gonna get that record, I'm gonna get that record, and that record. Anyway, we have a good old, awesome Philly sound. Philly sound is popular this week in the bag. It's gonna be from actually compilation. Let me explain. On one side, you've got the instrumental, which is by a single entity or band, if you will. On the other side, you have another performing group or band, which is also inclusive of the other side. I know that I just said a whole bunch of confusing stuff. I'll break it down for you. It's MFSB, better known as Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, and Philadelphia International All-Stars. So I told you about Philadelphia International Records, which was home to the Philadelphia Sound. You know, Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, Tom Bell, Bobby Martin was working on things with them. But, you know, it's definitely Gamble and Huff production going on there. So MFSB was the house band employed by the Philly soul producers Gamble and Huff. So they're the sound machine, and then you had other musicians that were sometimes brought in to fill in the gaps of vocal ability and things like that. So basically, MFSB is a group of studio musicians based at Philadelphia Sigma Sound Studios, which is where they made all their good Philadelphia sound soul music. They're best known for recording the hit theme to the Soul Train. You know that. I miss Soul Train, but people don't dance no more. So I guess, it's for the best. It consisted of guitarist Norman Harris, Bobby Eli, bassist Ronnie Baker, drummer Earl Young, so many other prominent musicians, like Roland Chambers and James Herb Smith on guitars, Larry Moore on bass, percussionists and drummers Carl Chambers, Miguel Fuentes, Quentin Joseph, Larry Washington, saxophonist Zach Zachary, which is kind of a cool, fun name, organist and keyboardist Lenny Pacula, and vibraphonist Vince Montana. And depending on availability, other rotating cast of string artists and horns, etc., which were often directed by Don Ronaldo. Anyway, so on the one side, we've got MFSB, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, representing, because they are the studio musicians, it is just the instrumental side. So we're just going to listen to the first side, which is called Let's Clean Up the Ghetto. And that is not just MFSB, but that is the Philadelphia International All-Stars, which consisted of Lou Rawls, Billy Paul, Archie Bell, yes, related to Tom Bell, Teddy Pendergrass, the OJs, and Dee Dee Sharp Gamble. This song was written by Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, and Kerry Gilbert, who's a soul lyricist, who also wrote Don't Leave Me This Way, and Me and Mrs. Jones.
They were about ready to declare default. I tell you, the garbage in some places was stacked up 2-3 stories high. At night, boy, at night it wasn't even safe to walk the street, you see, because the rats, the roaches, and the water bugs, I mean, they were hustling, baby, trying to get something to eat. And let me tell you something, it was stinking, boy, there was all kind of disease in there, but it only brought to mind the fact that you can no longer depend on the man downtown to take care of business like he's supposed to, when he's supposed to. In order for us to get it like it's supposed to be, as far as cleanliness, and safety, we got to get together and do it for ourselves. That's the only way it's going to be done. And you know what I'm talking about? Let me tell you what I mean. Well, y'all get up. Just hammer your nails, get your brooms, your mop and your pans. We're gonna wash it, polish, and make
Archie Bell, Teddy Pendergrass, the OJs, Dee Dee Sharp, Gamble, clean up the ghetto, because it is Juneteenth, and Juneteenth is all about the emancipation of the enslaved black person, and we still got work to do in building ourselves up. We're going to listen to the B-side first of the next one, because it just happens to be MFSB again, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, the house band employed by the Philly Soul producers Gamble and Huff. We just went over that. It's written by Roland Chambers, who I told you was also one of the guitarists associated with the house band, which was, the basic members of them were Norman Harris and Bobby Eli on guitar, bassist Ronnie Baker, and drummer Earl Young. But there were a plethora of other artists that were, also sitting in on those sessions. Roland Chambers was one of those guitarists that was doing that regularly. So this was co-written by Tom Bell, and Kenneth Gamble. It's called Something for Nothing. And then we're going to listen to the big, super TSOP jam after that. And we already talked about it. I'll refresh your memory if you don't remember. But after we listen to this, I know you hear the samples already. I do. Charts doesn't mean it wasn't on the charts in the streets. To the song of the hour. No, it's not the song of the hour, but the super jam that hit number 1 in 1974 was on the charts for 2 weeks. It was on the adult contemporary charts for 2 weeks. Number 1 also on the R&B charts at number 1 for 1 week. Also, it's TSOP, the Sound of Philadelphia, which is also the MSSB with the 3 Degrees, a Philly soul group discovered by producer, songwriter Richard Barrett. They were the ones that sang the lyrics, because MFSB was the band. So, Fayette Pinckney, Shirley Porter, and Linda Turner, they did that. Soul Train. Yeah, anyway. They also had a couple of hits on their own too. And one of their singers, Sheila Ferguson, sang background on all the 3 Degrees songs. Featuring the 3 Degrees with the theme to Soul Train, which, let me remind you again, in 1974 it was #1 on 3 charts: pop charts, adult contemporary charts, and R&B charts. Boom! What other TV show you know doing that on all the charts? Anyway, we're gonna move on to our number 7. We are flying through here. T-Neck is in the house. In case you don't remember who T-Neck is, allow me to reintroduce myself. Well, it's not myself, but Ron Isley. You're contagious. Also, give them their flowers. Ron and Ernie are still here. They are the Isley Brothers. This is a part 1 and part 2, so we're only going to be listening to part 1 because part 2 is usually just a jam session or an instrumental. So we're going to listen to part 1. It's called Live It Up. It's the Isley Brothers, originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. So they started in 1954 with the brothers O'Kelly, Rudolph, Ronald, and Vernon. Vernon unfortunately passed away in an accident. So they remained a trio for a while with Ron taking over on the lead vocals. Decades of influence. You know this. I don't have to tell you because they are still releasing records right now. Again, giving their flowers while they are still here. To this day, okay? They added their younger brothers, Ernie, on the guitar and drums, and Marvin also on bass and percussion in 1969. Now, T-Neck, how T-Neck works is they started, in 1954, and then they got your boy Jimi Hendrix in with them when they put T-Neck on the map and started their record label. They only released one song called Testify with Jimi Hendrix on there. And then they ended up abandoning the label and joining Motown. They stayed with Motown for about a year. And then they went back and revived the old T-Neck and put out banger after banger after banger. until about 1983. But let's listen to Live It Up, and I'll give you a little bit more information about the Isley Brothers. Give them their flowers. They are still here.
You never want to come for me. Oh no, knowing what you really need. You always say you had enough. Oh, you never want to live it up. But everybody's got, yeah, everybody's got the groove. Everybody really loves sugar. Everybody's got to live it up. Well, what did I do that was wrong? Just wanna have me some fun. I've been holding back for so long, but now I wanna, got to live it up. Gonna make you live it up. 'Cause everybody's gotta move. Everybody's gotta move. Everybody's making love show now. Everybody's gotta live it up. Well, what did I do that was wrong? Yeah. Just wanna have me big fun now. Been holding back for too long. I got to live it up. Yeah.
T-Neck Records, they added Ernie and Marvin back, and also their brother-in-law Chris Jasper, and that was in September of 1969. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992, as they should be. All them bangers, all that influence they added to the game. They are currently, I can't say this enough, give these artists their flowers while they are still here. They are currently on their 60th anniversary tour. Right now you can go to their .com and buy tickets for when they're in the city, near you. It's featuring Ron and Ernie, because as you know, several of the brothers have passed away. But they're going to be doing all the hits. They've got a song and video out right now called Friends and Family, and it's featuring Ron and Snoop Dogg, another GOAT of the music industry. If you don't know what GOAT is, it's greatest of all time. And they're the first band to have a top 50 hit in 6 consecutive decades. And they're still releasing music. It's 2021 now, so don't count them out. The Isley Brothers. Oh, yes. T-Neck in the house. Next, we got our eighth. It's from a group called Rhythm Heritage. It was just a studio, kind of like MFSB. A studio group of session players, if you will, put together by producer Steve Barry, who was a songwriter and producer, and Michael Martian, who was a songwriter, producer, keyboardist, and produced for Christopher Cross, Michael Bolton, Whitney Houston, Rod Stewart, Donna Summer, and so many more. They would have vocals sometimes by Owen and Luther Waters, but the studio group performers themselves consisted of Ed Green, Jay Graydon, Michael or Martian, as I mentioned already, Scott Edwards, Steve Barry, as I mentioned already, and Victor Feldman. And I'm talking about, when is the last time you heard a TV song on the charts? Just played for you the themes of Soul Train. You know Shaft was a hit, and that was the musical soundtrack, but that was the theme to Shaft, was a major hit. Now I'm about to play you the theme from SWAT, which was an ABC TV series back in the day, starring Steve Forrest. Okay, this record went gold in 1976 and was number 1 for 1 week on the charts. It's the theme from SWAT by Rhythm Heritage, brought to you by ABC Records. And you hear the samples already. You know the major one. The TV show song more. I'm lying. I probably did love a TV show more, but you cannot deny that was not a hell of a jam session. That we just had so many samples in just that one. Anyway, we're gonna listen to the B-side. It's called "I Wouldn't Treat a Dog the Way You Treat Me." I wonder what that's hitting on. You see, they're pretty funky with their musicianship. So it's written by Daniel Walsh, Michael Martian, Michael Prince, and Steve Barry. You know, Barry and Martian are part of the studio session group. Daniel Walsh and Michael Price together are a duo that are, known for writing a lot of songs together, including many hits for Grassroots and many songs as a duo in general. So let's get into that. I Wouldn't Treat a Dog the Way You Treat Me. It is by Rhythm Heritage on ABC Records. ABC Records, 1955, American Broadcasting and Paramount Theaters Incorporated formed a sub-company called Empire Record Corporation. They were known for putting out pop, jazz, R&B, children's, and spoken word records under the ABC Paramount label. And then they were called Empire for short, Record Corporation. They changed to ABC Paramount, started recording Incorporated in 1962. They became a major player in the North American music industry. Paul Anka, Lloyd Price, the Ponytails, the Four Tops, Isaac Hayes, the Dales, Lenny Williams. And they also launched several other imprints, including Impulse, Bluesway, 20th Century Fox, and so many more. They ended up getting sold to MCA in 1979, and now you can find any recordings or releases through Universal Music Group. Pressing a button for a beat, a button for a sound. Oh. Anyway, you know what I mean? Shout outs to everybody in their creative endeavors and however you put your sounds and your music together. But, you get that funk off of those guitars, those keyboards, string sessions and horn sessions. It's unmatched. The last two records of our 10 happen to be from DC artists. I promise you I did not plan it this way. It's just DC. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was just swaggy like that, you know. Anyway, this one is probably a little lesser known. The last one is a superstar, but, you know, also not planned that way. I just grab him and hold him. Shout out to Tony Baker. Hilarious. This one is from Billy Stewart, who was born 1956 in Washington, D.C. Always got a shout out. I just want to get a horn so that I don't have to do that and sound like a crazy person. He's also a keyboardist and a drummer, and they nicknamed him Fat Boy. And I was like, watch, he's not even fat. And then I did my research. He was kind of plump, but it's okay. Because we all are, aren't we? Anyway, we are a work in progress. The Lord know our heart. He worked with the Stewart Gospel Singers, the Marquees, not to be confused with the Mar-Keys, which was a instrumental backing type band, and the Rainbows, and also the Caros, which was a 60s soul group. You might know him for his 1965 song, I Do Love You, which was number 26 on the pop charts, or Sitting in the Park, which was also number 24 that same year, 1965. And then he also had a couple of hits in 1966, Summertime, from the Porgy and Bess adaptation, which was number 10 for him. It was number 12 for Billie Holiday in 1936, that same song. And then also that same year, 1966, he had Secret Love hit number 21 in the pop charts, and it was number 1 for Doris Day 12 years before that in 1954. But here we're going to listen to Cross My Heart, written by David Henderson, Sidney Pitchback Jr., and Warren Haggard Jr., a soul drummer and songwriter. This is Billy Stewart out of D.C., born in 1956. Of course, he's deceased now, but represent.
my heart that I love her.
Yeah, you know it.
There's no one above I want a girl that's true. Want a girl that's true. Do I tell her my troubles too? Tell my troubles too. Why don't you sing her to me? Great dynamite, it's all I say right now. This black boy gonna love her. There's no one up above her. Do you know I said? On my knees every day. To a heaven above I pray. I said, Lord, send her to me. Every day of my life, I want her to be my wife. Oh Lord, hear me. Please send her to me. Cross my heart that I love her. There's no one above her.
Yes, DC. Boom, 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 boom. Billy Stewart was singing The House Down across my heart. Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. Anyway, so this was on Chess Records. Chess Records was started by brothers Leonard and Phil Chess, who immigrated from Poland in 1928, and they owned an upscale Macomba nightclub in the south side of Chicago in the 1940s, and several other bars. Something about this seems like real like gangsterish to me. But anyway, blues, they always were having blues artists come to their clubs and perform. And they started realizing, hey, we're not recording them, and they're doing this great music. So they bought into this small label called the Aristocrat of Records in 1947. And then they bought them out. Sound real gangster to me. But hey, do you, boo? Do you? Get your money, get your coin. Anyway, so they bought the remaining partners of the Aristocrat of Records out. And in 1949, they changed the label to Chess. And in 1950, they sold, to General Recorded Tape, GRT. No, in 1950s when they really got into Chess. So they stayed there for almost 20 years. In 1969 is when they sold to General Recorded Tape, GRT, for $6.5 million in 1969. Guapale. Anyway, they sold again to All Platinum. That's Sylvia Robinson's, at that time, All Platinum, but soon to be Sugar Hill Records. And that was 1975. And if you're looking for them now, you're going to have to holler at the good old BMG, Bertelsmann Music Group. And they were one of the premier, why are people calling? I knew that this would happen. I thought I put this on Do Not Disturb. Apparently I did not. Take a deep breath, zombie. So, I want to make sure that the recording isn't going to be interrupted while I'm talking about the beginnings of Chess Records. Chess Records was one of the premier blues labels of the 1950s and the 1960s. They were also releasing R&B, soul, jazz, gospel, and rock. But let me tell you this, they released records by every major blues artist in Chicago, including John Lee Hooker, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy. He was a founding member of the Marquis, who of course did the backing music and the horn section. They were originally called the Royal Spades, and he was also a founding member of the. Sorry. Someone called and ruined my recording. Ruiners. Anyway, let me continue because I am simultaneously recording for YouTube. So they had John Lee Hooker, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, Elmore James, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Little Walter. All the well, not all the blues greats, because there's no B.B. King on that list, but so many blues greats recorded with Chess. So Chess was not anybody to play with. I feel like they were real gangstery. Anyway, we're gonna play the B side of that, which is gonna be called "Why Do I Love You So." Again, this is Billy Stewart out of DC. This is also co-written by Billy Stewart, Raynard Minor, and Renee Marks.
Why do I need you so much? This, my darling, I may never know. Why does a mirror reflect a face? Why am I thrilled with your charming embrace? Why do I keep on trying? Why does my heart go on crying? In my sleep I even call your name. Dreams of losing you just drive me insane. Why does water run out the fire? What can I control? I control my desire. Why do I love you so good? Why do I want my body so good? Why do I need it so good? This, my darling, I say I may never know. All things are what they seem to be. Life itself is such a mystery. Sometimes I wonder, 'cause it's so true. I don't know why I said I love you, but I do. Why do I love you so much? Why do I want you so good? Why do I need you so love? Oh, my darling, I say this, I may never know. Oh, yeah, baby, you love my darling. God, I said about God. Don't you know, little girl, I said, I just don't know. You got
Ladies
to
and
tell
gentlemen,
me,
Billy
baby.
Stewart out of DC. Powerful voice. I like it a lot. And now we're at our last song. And I say last song because we won't be playing both sides, because The second side is just part 1, which is continuation jam session of the part 1 on the A side or side 1. And it's a superstar from guess where? DC. His name is none other than Marvin Gaye. And you know who Marvin Gaye is. Soul singer from DC, born in April 2nd, 1939. He was actually born Marvin Gay Jr. And he added the E onto his name later in his life, you know. When he was growing up, he joined a group, you know, called the Moonglows in the 1950s. And he impressed the founder of the group, Harvey Fuqua, and another gentleman was impressed by both he and Harvey. And that man was a man by the name of Berry Gordy Jr., who signed them to Motown. This is on the Tamla imprint, which you know Tamla was the very beginnings, January 12, 1959, of Motown. And then when he got the license, all said and done in 1960, he just called everything Motown. And of course, there's other imprints under that, such as the Gordy imprint, etc., etc. We've talked about Mr. Gordy Jr. Many times on these episodes. His first hit came in 1962, but in his early years at Motown, it was full of behind-the-scenes work. Did you know that he was a drummer for Motown legends like, at the time, Little Stevie Wonder, the Supremes, the Marvelettes, Martha and the Vandellas? He was not just a singer, he was also a musician, okay? He broke the top 40 on the charts for the first time in 1962 with the song called Hitchhike. And, of course, after that, it was hit after hit after hit after hit on the charts, such as Can I Get a Witness, number 22 in 1963. I Heard It Through the Grapevine, which was a hit for quite a few soul artists, which was number 1 for 7 weeks in 1968. What's Going On in 1971, it was number 2 for 3 weeks. Number 1 R&B for 5 weeks. Let's Get It On in 1973 was number 1 for 2 weeks. Number 1 R&B for 6 weeks. Sexual Healing, of course, into the 80s. 1982 was number 3 on the charts. Number 1 on the R&B charts. Okay, don't mess with Mr. Marvin Gaye when it comes to that soul. Okay, and we're gonna get into this party life with Got to Give It Up. Marvin Gaye, 1977, number 1 for 1 week and number 1 on the R&B charts for 5 weeks, and you cannot have a cookout without this song. If you have a cookout and this song doesn't come on at some point in time, your cookout is trash. From the Five Bloods, when this song is on, you wildin'. 1, 1977, number 1 R&B and pop. Number 1 for 1 week on the pop charts, number 1 for 5 weeks on the R&B charts. And it's Marvin Gaye. You can't go wrong. I'm trying to tell you, if you know, that song don't come on at your cookout is trash. I said what I said. Anyway, happy Juneteenth to everyone. I hope that this will signify some sort of change and awakening in the people so that we can get together and do better and lift each other up. And I hope that we can strive to make them see that they got to do more than just grant us holidays. We need votes. We need police reform. We need to stop getting killed at every drop of a dime just because we catch the eye of a police officer. Those things have got to change. The school to prison pipeline has got to cease and desist. We still have work to do. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you next time. Mommy's Pocketbook. Hopefully that gave you a little eye into what was in Mommy's Pocketbook, what was hot in the streets back in the day, and hopefully you learned a little something about music. I did. I always do. Until next time, peace.